What happens to you after your final breath? It's the question that quietly echoes in the back of your mind, whether you're ready to face it or not. Maybe you've lost someone you love. Maybe you've had a brush with death yourself. Or maybe, in the still moments of life, you've felt that soft pull, and knowing that there's more to this journey than what meets the eye. The truth is, this question doesn't just visit philosophers and mystics. It visits you, in the grief of a funeral, in the silence of a hospital room, in the memories that arrive like ghosts. Where do we go? What happens to the soul once the body is done? You might expect a clean break, like turning off a light switch. One moment here, the next gone. But that's not how it works. Not really. Because the soul doesn't depart the way you think it does. The transition isn't abrupt. It's layered, intricate, intimate, like the closing of a sacred book, where the final chapter still lingers in the air, even after the pages stop turning. For most people, the idea of death is shrouded in mystery. It's wrapped in cultural conditioning, fear, and the silence that surrounds the topic. You're told not to talk about it. You're told to move on quickly. You're given polite platitudes and blurry answers. But underneath it all, there's still that ache, the longing to know. And deep down you do. Some part of you remembers that you are more than flesh and blood. That consciousness doesn't vanish. That presence can be felt, even after the heartbeat ends. Have you ever walked into a room and known someone who passed was still there? Have you ever dreamed of someone who left this world, only to wake up with a sense of peace, or a message you couldn't explain? That's not your imagination. That's the residue of the soul, the energy that remains. You see, the soul doesn't sprint out of the body. It doesn't leap into the heavens in a flash of light and never look back. No, the departure is gradual. The soul observes. It waits. It watches. There's a moment, a pause, where the soul hovers. It remains near the physical plane, close enough to sense, feel, and even witness the reactions of those left behind. Imagine standing outside a room, watching people grieve over a version of you that no longer houses your essence. You're there, but not in the way you were before. This phase, the inevitable, is real, and it's not talked about enough. The soul is not bound by time the way your human mind is. What feels like days to you may feel like moments to the one who has passed. The energy of love, of fear, of release. It all becomes part of the environment the soul navigates after death. And here's something no one tells you. The soul is aware. Aware of the emotional energy surrounding it. Aware of whether it's being clung to or set free. Aware of what remains unspoken. And sometimes, that awareness keeps it tethered longer than you might expect. It lingers for closure, it lingers for forgiveness, it lingers for understanding. And sometimes, it lingers because you, the one left behind, aren't ready to let go. You may think your mourning is silent, but the soul hears it. It feels your longing, your need, your questions. But here's the most profound part of this journey. The soul doesn't rush. It doesn't need to. In the spiritual dimension, there's no clock ticking, no deadlines to meet. The transition unfolds in perfect rhythm with the vibration of the individual. And that's where things get even more mysterious, because not every soul experiences this phase the same way. Some slip gently into the next realm, like a leaf floating downstream. Others resist, trying to stay connected to the life they just left. The reasons are as unique as the souls themselves. Fear, attachment, regret, unfinished dreams, or even disbelief that they've passed. When someone dies suddenly, in an accident or under trauma, the shock can anchor their awareness to the earthly plane. They may not realize they've transitioned. They may try to interact with loved ones, unaware that their voice no longer carries sound. They might appear in dreams, trigger synchronicities, or create sensations around you. Not to scare, but to say, I'm still here. I see you. You may have felt that chill on your neck, that sudden memory, that song that played at just the right moment. All of it is part of the language of souls. And yet, so many dismiss it as coincidence. But you know better. You wouldn't be hearing this if you weren't ready to remember. The space between life and what comes next isn't empty, it's sacred. It's alive with the vibration of what was, what is, and what will be. And in that sacred space, the soul begins to adjust. It starts to review. It reflects. Not through judgment, but through energetic truth. It sees the ripples of its actions, the echoes of its thoughts, the vibration it carried through its lifetime. And this reflection matters. Not for punishment, but for understanding, for clarity, for peace. The soul does not flee the body in fear. It expands, and in that expansion it remains tethered for a while, not to the skin and bones it once wore, but to the energetic imprints of love, memory, and identity. This is why so many report feeling their loved ones near after they've passed. The presence, the comfort, the knowing. It's not wishful thinking. It's the soul finishing its final steps before crossing fully into the next realm. So if you've ever wondered why you still feel them, days or weeks after they're gone, now you know. They're still close, still watching, still loving. Not trapped, but transitioning. Not lost, but learning. And if you've ever wondered what will happen to you, the answer is this. Your soul will not be ripped from you in a violent end. It will rise gently. It will linger tenderly. It will wait until the time is right, until you are ready. This is the unseen truth most never speak about, because death, in its essence, is not an ending. It is an unfolding, a continuation of the same eternal essence you carry right now. And as you begin to understand that, something within you begins to soften. The fear becomes curiosity. The pain becomes reverence. The silence becomes a whisper of something ancient, reminding you that you're not just a body, and you never were. You are soul, you are presence, and when the time comes you won't leave this world in an instant. You'll linger, long enough to feel, to love, to witness, before drifting into the next chapter of your never-ending story. And knowing that changes everything. The moment your physical body takes its final breath is not the end. It's a soft unraveling of what you've always been, beneath the illusion of form. There's no violent snap, no instant blackout, no great vanishing act. Instead, there's a gentle lifting, a subtle shift. Something within you, something that has always been aware, begins to float free. But you don't rush away. You don't shoot into some distant heaven or disappear into oblivion. Instead, you stay. Not because you're trapped, not because you're confused, but because part of your soul needs to observe, to witness, to feel the space it just left. You remain closed not just to the body, but to the people, the places, and the energy that surrounded your life. In those first moments after death, the soul enters a state of heightened awareness, not dissimilar to waking up from a long and vivid dream. Everything is familiar, but it feels different now. The air doesn't carry weight. The sound isn't bound by ears. Sight is no longer dependent on eyes. You begin to perceive reality not just with senses, but with essence. And in that strange new clarity, your first instinct is not to leave, it's to stay. To hover gently above your former self, to see your body with a strange mix of compassion and detachment. It's still there, resting, unmoving, like a coat that no longer fits. And yet you remember how it once felt to wear it. Every breath, every tear, every laugh, every ache. It all rushes back, not in flashes, but in layers of knowing. And then, once again, all a heart arrive. You don't relive it, you understand it. Then your awareness expands. You notice the room, the people, the emotions swirling around you. You see the ones who loved you holding back tears or weeping openly. You feel their sorrow, not as your own, but as a vibration you now perceive in full color, Grief becomes energy, dense, heavy, magnetic. Love, though, feels like light, soft and radiant, gently guiding you toward what lies ahead. But you're not ready to go just yet, not because you're afraid, but because something in you wants to stay a little longer. Maybe you want to make sure they're okay. Maybe you want to whisper something you didn't get the chance to say. Maybe you're simply mesmerized by the surreal beauty of seeing the world without a filter, without pain, without fear, just awareness. And you begin to realize that this transition isn't linear. It doesn't unfold the same way for everyone. Some souls linger for minutes, others for days, not because they're forced to, but because their vibration is still entangled with the earth, with memories, with emotion, with purpose. You might find yourself drawn to familiar places, your bedroom, your favorite chair, the garden you used to tend, the people you loved the most. These things still carry your energy. They're still tuned to your frequency, and as long as you're attuned to them, you're pulled toward them, just like gravity but gentler. You see someone in the kitchen making your favorite meal. You notice the way they pause when they pass the doorway, as if feeling your presence. And you are there, not in body, but in being. You are not a ghost, you are not a shadow. You are consciousness, free from limits, but still tethered to love. You begin to notice that you're not alone. There are others. Souls who greet you, not always with words but with presence. Guides, perhaps, ancestors, beings of light who know the path you're on and walk beside you, unseen by human eyes. They are patient. They do not rush you. They know this in-between phase is sacred. They know that you must release gently, because even though your body is gone, the earth's vibration still calls you. You can feel it in the pull of unresolved emotion, in the memories that flash before you, not like a movie, but like emotional echoes. You remember the moments you held back your truth, the times you wished you'd said more or forgiven faster. You remember the beauty too, the time your child laughed and you cried just watching them, the way it felt to dance in the rain when no one was watching. All of it returns not as judgment, but as a tapestry of meaning, threads you wove, patterns you now see clearly, and as you linger, you come to a realization. This isn't a punishment. It's an invitation. You are being given the space to process, to integrate, to gently peel away from the density of the physical world. Like mist rising from still water, your spirit begins to ascend, not away, but through the final layers of your earth-bound self. There are some who resist this moment. They can't accept that life has changed. They cling to their old routines, trying to interact with the living, repeating patterns, revisiting familiar spaces again and again. They are not lost. They are simply not ready. And the universe is patient with them. There is no rush. There is only rhythm. And you might wonder, even now, do the living feel me when I'm near? Do they know? Yes. Sometimes they do. They feel it in dreams, those vivid, visceral moments when you visit them at night and whisper peace. They feel it in sudden memories that come out of nowhere, in chills that race across the skin, in the flicker of a candle or a favorite song that starts playing just when they need it most. You are still capable of connection, but not by speaking or touching, by being, by presence, by vibration. And as you linger near those you loved, you begin to understand just how powerful that presence is. You realize you are not gone. You are simply unbound. But even in this unbound state, you feel the weight of the earth's vibration. It's dense, slow, emotional. You begin to sense the difference between the energies that hold you and the ones that help release you. When someone grieves with acceptance and love, their energy lifts you. When someone clings with desperation or guilt, it draws you closer, not to punish you, but to offer you a chance to help, to complete a sacred circle. You are not helpless in this phase. You are learning, expanding, transitioning. You begin to sense a pull, not downward, not upward, but inward, toward the center of your being. A light that grows stronger the more you release, and with each passing moment the pull of the physical world becomes softer, quieter. Not because it's fading, but because you are tuning into a different frequency. You are still here, but not for long. And that's okay, because what waits for you is not a void. It is not judgment. It is not nothingness. It is a realm that speaks the language of your soul, a place where time bends and space breathes, a field where love is not spoken but embodied. But you don't leap into it. You transition, you listen, you feel. And when the moment is right, when your spirit has gathered its final threads of meaning, when your loved ones have heard your final whisper, you begin to rise. Not to escape, but to return. To return to the place you came from, to return to yourself. The first moments after death are not frightening, they are sacred, they are gentle, they are filled with clarity, grace, and the soft music of remembering. And if you're still here, if you're listening to these words and wondering what it will feel like when your time comes, know this: you will not be alone. You will not be afraid. You will not vanish. You will linger, not out of fear but out of love. And in that lingering you will find the doorway already open. Not every soul leaves right away. In fact, many don't. And not because they're trapped, not because they're condemned, but because something still calls them back. Something familiar, something unresolved, something that tugs at their energy like a thread that was never fully tied off. You may think of death as a clean separation, like stepping through a door and never looking back. But for many souls, the transition is more like a pause, a hesitation, a moment where the soul, now unbound by the body, lingers in the space between. Some do move quickly, effortlessly ascending into lighter states of consciousness, returning to the realms of peace and higher awareness. But others remain, not out of punishment, not because they've done something wrong, but because Earth still holds part of their vibration, the energy of who they were, the emotions they carried, the bonds they never released. All of that can echo, like footsteps in an empty hallway. And the soul, still sensitive to those echoes, listens. Think of your lifetime not as a closed story, but as a radiating field. Every thought, every action, every relationship, it leaves a signature, a vibrational pattern. And after the body is gone, that pattern doesn't just vanish. It remains in the fabric of this plane like smoke that clings to a room long after the fire has gone out. This is vibrational residue, and it matters. The earth is not just a place, it's a field of frequency, a dense one, heavy, slow, beautiful, yes, but full of emotional gravity. When you're alive, you're immersed in it. Your body, your mind, your senses, they're all tuned to the vibration of this world. But when the soul begins to separate, it must shift its frequency, and for many that shift takes time, especially if they're still carrying unresolved emotion. If you've ever felt the presence of someone who has passed long after their body was laid to rest, you were probably sensing this earthbound energy. It's not imagination. It's not a trick of grief. It's the soul responding to the pull of what's been left unfinished. Love can hold a soul close. So can sorrow. So can guilt. So can fear. Imagine this. A father dies suddenly, leaving behind a daughter he was never able to say goodbye to. In those final moments his soul lifts, but the thought of her, the image of her crying by his bedside, keeps him near. Not because he's stuck, not because he's lost, but because he's not done. His love is still reaching. His energy is still trying to deliver one last message. I'm okay. I'm still here. You're not alone. Now imagine a different story. A life ended in trauma, a violent act, an unresolved loss, a soul caught in confusion. In that moment, the soul may not even realize it's past. It clings to the last thing it remembers, a place, a person, a feeling, and so it remains, playing the same scene over and over, trying to make sense of what happened. Or take a soul that lived with regret, someone who carried guilt for decades, who died still feeling unworthy of forgiveness. When the body falls away, the soul is free. But the energy of that guilt, it still hums. It vibrates close to the earth, anchoring the soul in a lower frequency that resists the pull of the higher realms, not because it has to, but because it believes it must. That's the truth most people don't understand. The state of your consciousness doesn't end when you die. It carries with you your beliefs, your emotional weight, your perceptions. They shape the immediate experience of your soul after death. If you've always believed you're alone, you may not notice the guides standing beside you. If you've feared judgment, you may hesitate to cross into the light, worried about what waits for you. This is why intention and awareness matter so deeply, not just in life, but in how you prepare for the afterlife. And it's why some souls stay. They stay to protect. They stay to comfort. They stay because they're confused. They stay because something in them is still resonating with the vibration of earth. You may have heard stories of haunted places, of spirits wandering the halls of old houses or appearing at the foot of a bed. Often, these are souls who haven't fully released, but they're not monsters. They're not evil. They're not here to torment. Most of them don't even realize how they're perceived. They're just present. A little lost, a little stuck. Echoes of lives that meant something, that still mean something, and while it may feel eerie, the truth is more sacred than scary. Because what you're sensing is a bridge, the place where energy remains close enough to touch, to sense, to feel. It's why certain places hold a strange stillness or a thick silence. It's why you sometimes feel watched when no one's there. The veil is thin, and earth is layered. The physical world is just one dimension of what's happening here. The soul that remains near earth doesn't always mean to interfere. Sometimes it simply wants to be acknowledged, to be remembered, to be told it can move on, and you can help. Because earthbound energy is not permanent, it's transitional, it can shift. And when you release someone with love, when you pray for their journey, when you forgive what wasn't said, when you light a candle with pure intent, you create a wave of energy that helps them rise. You shift their vibration, you give them permission, and sometimes that's all they were waiting for. But it's also important to know this. Not every soul lingers because of pain. Some stay out of devotion, out of watchfulness, out of a kind of spiritual guardianship. A parent who wants to see their child grow, a spouse who waits for their partner to join them, a soul who promised to stay close until the very end. These aren't ghosts, these are guardians, quiet witnesses who hover just out of sight, whispering strength into your life when you need it most. You don't need to see them to feel them, you just have to listen differently, feel differently. Tune yourself to the frequency of remembrance, not mourning but presence. Honor them, speak to them, create a space where their memory isn't heavy but holy. That's how you dissolve earthbound energy, not by fear, but by love. You may never know how many souls walk quietly beside you, how many linger, not because they're bound but because they care, how many wait for the right moment to rise. But what you can know is that the journey doesn't end with the last breath. Energy never dies, it transforms, it shifts, it evolves, and every soul, no matter how long it stays, is always being invited to return home. So if you've ever wondered why someone hasn't moved on, maybe it's not because they're stuck. Maybe it's because they're still loving you, still protecting you, still waiting for a sign that it's okay to go. You can be that sign, and in doing so you help both them and yourself begin to rise. When the final breath leaves your body and the stillness of physical death settles in, something unexpected happens. Not with drama, not with thunder, but with a quiet intensity that touches the core of who you are. You begin to see, but not with your eyes. You begin to remember, but not like flipping through photos or rerunning moments on a screen. It's deeper than that. You feel your life, not just from your own view, but from every angle you touched. Every word spoken, every choice made, every ripple you sent into the fabric of the world. It's all there, rising in you like the tide. This isn't judgment, it's reflection. A pure, unfiltered awareness of the energy you carried and how that energy affected everything around you. What you experience isn't a movie reel. It's not some angel tallying up good and bad. There are no scales weighing your worth. Instead, your consciousness becomes a mirror, one that reflects the frequency of your life with perfect honesty. Not to punish, but to teach. You relive how you made others feel. Not just what happened, but the emotional impact. You feel the joy you gave, the comfort, the love. But you also feel the pain you caused, the words you threw in anger, the moments you chose silence when someone needed truth. You don't watch those moments. You become them. You feel the ache in someone's chest when you broke their trust. You feel the fear in their heart when you turned away. You feel the joy that danced through a child's soul because of your smile. The gratitude someone carried for years because you were kind when you didn't have to be. This is the life review. But it's not a review at all. It's a return to vibration, to resonance. You don't revisit events. You revisit energy, the energy you created, the energy you left behind. And there's no way to fake it. No way to edit the past or justify your actions. Here in this space of pure soul truth, what matters isn't what the world thought of you, but what your energy became while you lived, how it moved, how it healed, how it hurt. You see, while you were alive, your thoughts weren't just private whispers in your mind. They were frequencies, carriers of intent, builders of experience. Every single one shaped the energetic structure of your life. And now, you face that structure, not as something external, but as a part of you. You feel the weight of what you carried, the sharp edges of what you withheld, the beauty of what you gave freely. And it's not frightening, it's liberating, because for the first time you understand. You understand why certain patterns repeated, why certain people came into your life, why some relationships flourished while others fell apart. You see how your fears attracted certain situations, how your beliefs either uplifted or limited you, and perhaps most powerful of all, you see the opportunities you missed, not to shame you, but to awaken you. You see what could have been, what might have healed, what love might have grown, and in that seeing your soul begins to realign, not with regret, but with longing. A longing to do better, to grow, to become more aligned with the vibration of your truest self. There is a sacred law at work here. You attract what you are, not what you want. And now, stripped of illusions, you finally see what you truly were. You see the masks you wore, the walls you built, the times you doubted your own worth, the moments you ignored your intuition, the times you knew better and still chose the easy way. And then, something softer emerges. You begin to feel compassion for yourself. You begin to realize that every mistake, every misstep, every moment of unconsciousness wasn't because you were broken. It was because you were learning, you were evolving, you were navigating a dense world with a limited understanding of who you really were. And now that understanding floods in, you remember, not the facts of your life, but the truth of your soul. You are not the pain you caused. You are not the fear you carried. You are not the wounds that shaped your story. You are the awareness that can now choose differently. That's the purpose of this reflection, not to trap you in the past, but to illuminate the path forward, because even in death, there is forward. There is always forward. This reflection becomes a kind of energetic alchemy, a transmutation. As you embrace what you've seen, you begin to shift. The frequencies that were heavy, guilt, shame, resentment, they begin to lift, not because you erase them, but because you finally understand them. You offer yourself the one thing you struggled to give in life: radical honesty, met with unconditional love. And that's the paradox of this process. The deeper you go into your life's truth, the more you are freed, because only truth can liberate the soul. It's here you begin to realize something even more profound. Your life wasn't about what you achieved. It wasn't about success, status, or even survival. It was always about vibration, about who you became while you were here, how you shaped energy through presence, intention, and choice. Everything external falls away: the house, the career, the arguments, the trophies, the labels. They're shadows now. What remains is resonance. Did you become more loving, more aware? Did you bring light into dark places? Did you make others feel seen, safe, and sacred? You begin to understand that you were never here to be perfect. You were here to remember who you are. And now in this sacred review you see how close you came, how often your heart tried to guide you, how many times you almost followed it, and how often fear stopped you. But there's no punishment for that. There's only awareness. And from awareness comes transformation. The soul doesn't review life to be judged. It reviews life to grow, to prepare for what comes next. And what comes next is shaped by what you choose to integrate. You are not defined by your past. You are defined by what you do with it. This is where the mirror of the mind becomes a doorway. You've seen who you were. Now you choose who you become. Will you carry the lessons forward? Will you release what you no longer need? Will you step into the next realm with a deeper understanding of what love truly means? This choice is yours. No one chooses it for you. At this moment, this reckoning, this reflection, it's not just something that happens after death. It happens now, too, in dreams, in meditation, in moments of stillness, when you finally look in the mirror, not with vanity but with presence. You glimpse it when you ask yourself, am I living in alignment with my soul? You feel it when you lie awake at night, knowing you ignored your inner voice. You sense it when you feel joy, deep joy from something simple, because that joy is your soul recognizing truth. The mirror of the mind is always present. You don't have to die to see your life clearly. You just have to be willing. And if you are willing, if you choose to reflect while you still breathe, you don't have to wait until the end to begin again. You can begin right now. You can shift your frequency. You can become the energy you want to leave behind. Because when your final breath comes, and it will, what you'll carry isn't what you owned or achieved, it will be what you gave, what you forgave, and who you allowed yourself to become. That's the real legacy. That's what remains when the body is gone. Not the story, the vibration. Time doesn't follow you when you die, at least not in the way you've known it. The ticking clock, the calendar days, the months and years that seem so heavy and defining in life, they all begin to unravel. And what's left in their place isn't chaos, it's freedom. A new kind of awareness, one not tied to numbers or aging or deadlines, but to rhythm, vibration, flow. In the spirit realm, time bends, it stretches, it folds in on itself. It's not measured by watches or clocks, but by energy, by the depth of your emotion, by the intensity of your thoughts, by the clarity of your awareness. One moment can feel like eternity, and an entire century can pass like a breath. It all depends on where your soul is vibrationally. You see, time is not an objective truth, it's an experience. While in the body, your mind was conditioned to track moments, to divide your life into hours, days, and decades. You grew older. You measured success by years, mourned losses by anniversaries, and feared the ticking of time like a thief stealing what you love. But once the body is gone, you realize that time was never real in the way you thought. It was a structure created to help you navigate form, a helpful illusion. But the soul doesn't age. It doesn't wear time like skin. It exists outside of that framework entirely. So when you cross over, when the physical dissolves and your essence expands, you don't land in some timeless void. You enter a new kind of time, one that responds to consciousness, not clocks. Your experience of time after death becomes a reflection of your inner state, and that means what you feel, what you hold on to, can either stretch or compress the experience in unimaginable ways. Let's say you leave your body, and part of you is still attached to what you've left behind. Maybe you want to comfort the people you love. Maybe you're trying to understand how your life ended. Maybe you're not ready to let go just yet, so you remain near. Hours pass, maybe days. You feel like you're staying just a little while longer, but to those still in the physical world, weeks have passed, or even years. That's how time begins to lose meaning. Not because it's irrelevant, but because you are now experiencing life through vibration, not sequence. Imagine a place where what you focus on expands, where an instant of joy can feel like a warm sunrise that lasts forever, and a moment of confusion can spiral into a loop that feels endless, until you shift your energy. This is why some souls linger, not because they're lost in the world, but because they're still inside a moment. That moment could be love, it could be sorrow, it could be the need for forgiveness or the ache of regret. And until that vibration resolves, the soul may continue to stay close, experiencing that moment over and over, like an emotional echo that hasn't yet faded. But to the living, years may pass. You could walk into an old house and feel a presence, something soft, watching. You may think it's a ghost stuck in time, but it's not time they're stuck in. It's vibration. They're still holding on to something that binds them to that place. And because time is experienced internally, that soul might still believe only hours have passed since they stood in that room. This is the mystery most never understand. After death, you're not stepping into a timeline. You're stepping into a field of frequency, and the rate at which your soul moves through that field is based on your emotional, mental, and spiritual vibration. If you are peaceful, clear, and open, you move quickly. You rise into higher realms, where time feels expansive and gentle. There, souls communicate not with words, but with instant understanding. A single thought is felt completely. There's no delay, no confusion. Everything is known in the now. But if your energy is heavy, burdened by guilt, fear, or unfinished business, your experience slows, not as punishment, but because the soul needs to integrate, to process, to understand. And so it stays close to what it knows, revisiting the familiar, seeking comfort, or trying to complete what was left undone. And here's the beautiful truth, even in that delay, you're still moving forward. There's no such thing as spiritual stagnation. Every soul finds its way eventually, even the ones who stay close to earth for what feels like lifetimes. They are still on a journey. They are still evolving. Because time doesn't determine growth, awareness does. In this realm beyond form, you begin to see how interconnected everything really is. The souls who linger aren't measuring time. They're responding to energy. A person might have died 50 years ago, and their presence is still felt, not because they're trapped, but because someone is still calling them with memory, with longing, with unresolved emotion. That call is vibrational, and the soul hears it, responds to it. Sometimes all it takes is a shift in the living, a prayer, a release, a moment of peace, to allow the soul to move on, to finally feel the thread has been lovingly cut, the chapter closed. And when that happens, the soul rises effortlessly, like smoke dissolving into sky. But to them, it hasn't been years. It's been one unfolding moment of awareness. So when you ask how long a soul remains on earth after death, the answer is, it depends. Not on earth time, but on soul time. And soul time is not about clocks. It's about clarity. The clearer the soul, the quicker the release. But that clarity is not forced. It's earned. Through reflection, through love, through readiness. There are some who experience their transition as instantaneous. The moment they step out of their body, they're already in the light, already moving toward the higher planes. Their life energy was already vibrating at a frequency that aligned with peace, with love, with wholeness. For them, time dissolves like mist and the journey is seamless. Others may spend what you'd call years revisiting places, people, memories, not because they're unable to leave, but because their awareness is still rooted in those experiences. And time, real time, doesn't exist for them. What exists is the unfolding of realization, of letting go, of returning to truth. So what determines your experience? It's not what you believed in life, it's not your religion or your rituals, it's your vibration, the frequency of your thoughts, the honesty in your heart, the depth of your love. That's what follows you. That's what creates your experience after death. And if you've ever wondered how to prepare for that moment, not just physically but spiritually, the answer is simple. Live with awareness. Heal what's heavy. Speak the unspoken. Release what no longer serves you. And choose love over and over, even when it's hard, because when the time comes, your soul will not be weighed by hours or days, but by presence. And the more present you've become, the more easily you'll flow into the next state of being. You'll rise not because you're finished, but because you're free. Free from the illusions of time, free from the heaviness of regret. Free to explore a realm where everything you are is felt fully, known completely, and loved unconditionally. And there, in that vast unfolding, time will no longer bind you. It will become something you ride, like a current, something you shape like clay, something you remember, not as a limit, but as a gift that once helped you find your way home. Some souls leave quickly, with grace, as if carried by an unseen current, but others linger, hovering close to the world they just departed, not because they are being punished, not because they are confused, but because something or someone is still pulling on them. What draws a soul back to the earth plane isn't always dramatic. It's not a haunting or a chain dragging them down. Sometimes it's love. Sometimes it's grief. Sometimes it's the unfinished conversations, the apologies never spoken, the memories wrapped in pain. You might think of death as a severance, a final breath and a clean exit. But energy doesn't obey the rules of endings. It moves where attention flows, and when someone is grieving deeply, that energy flows backward, pulling at what has already begun to let go. You see, the soul is still sensitive. Even after death, it remains aware of the bonds it formed in life. It can still feel the pull of your thoughts, your longing, your sorrow. It doesn't forget the people it loved, nor does it immediately dissolve all attachment to the life it lived. And if someone on earth is clinging, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, it can create a tether, a quiet cord of energy that reaches out like a hand in the dark. Grief is powerful. It's raw, it's sacred, but it can also anchor, especially when it becomes an obsession, when your pain becomes the center of your days, when your thoughts are consumed by the absence, when you replay the final moments again and again. You are not just remembering, you are calling, and the soul hears that call. It's not always a cry for help. Sometimes it's a desperate need to feel them again, to hear their voice in a dream, to see a sign. And sometimes you do. A flickering light, a whisper in your sleep, a sudden memory that makes your chest ache. That's the soul responding, not out of fear, but out of compassion, out of the remnants of a bond still alive in vibration. But what most don't realize is that this pull can delay the soul's journey forward, not permanently, not disastrously, but gently, lovingly. The soul may stay longer than it otherwise would, not because it's unwilling to ascend, but because you haven't let go, because part of you is still wrapped around their essence, afraid that if you release, they will vanish completely. They won't, but the tether must loosen. There's a difference between honoring someone's memory and holding their energy hostage. One is reverent, the other is restrictive. And it's not just grief that pulls a soul back. Rituals can do it too. Ceremonies done in fear, practices rooted in control rather than reverence. Some cultures have learned to create spaces for the soul's transition, silent vigils, moments of reflection, prayers spoken to ease the passage, but others unknowingly bind the soul tighter to earth with constant invocation, with unrelenting summoning, with emotional reenactments that keep the past alive in painful loops. The soul wants to be remembered, but it also wants to be released. This doesn't mean you forget them. It means you trust that they are safe, that their journey continues, that your love doesn't need to be wrapped in agony to be real. In fact, the more you heal, the more clearly you can feel them, not as a presence stuck in the past, but as a light that walks beside you in the present. There's also the weight of unresolved karma, the energetic contracts left open, the wounds left unspoken, the debts and lessons that never came full circle. These don't disappear with death. The soul is aware of them, and in some cases that awareness keeps it close to the physical plane, not to fix things right away, but to observe, to witness, to prepare. Some souls return not because someone is pulling them back, but because they feel the need to complete something, to understand the life they just lived, to stand beside those they hurt, even if unseen, and offer silent atonement, to comfort the ones they couldn't protect, to offer guidance from a higher, more honest place. These souls are not stuck. They are serving, they are softening, they are making peace. But that too requires balance, because if you continue to feed those moments with fear or obsession, you create an energetic loop, one where they stay and you stay, both anchored by the same ache. You don't need to stop loving them, but you do need to lift that love. Speak to them not with desperation, but with calm. Light a candle not because you're afraid, but because you trust. Let your heart grieve, but not as a prison. Let it open as a portal. When you do this, the soul feels it, and it moves, not away from you, but beyond, into a space where connection is clearer, lighter, deeper. This is why some souls appear in dreams in the early days after their passing and then seem to vanish. It's not because they've abandoned you. It's because they've begun to shift. Their vibration has lifted, and unless you lift with them through healing, forgiveness, acceptance, you may no longer feel them as clearly. You might wonder why you felt them so intensely at first, why the signs came fast and frequent, and then why it all went quiet. That silence is not absence, it's evolution. It means the soul is continuing its journey. It means it trusted you to keep living even without their daily presence. But if your grief turns to fixation, you might start trying to pull them back. You visit the same places, you replay the same memories, you speak to their absence more than their spirit. You forget that love is not tethered to loss, it's made of light. And in doing so you begin to weigh the space between you with longing that slows you both down. Letting go doesn't mean losing them, it means releasing them to rise. It means trusting that their path is now broader, that their soul is on its way to a place where they are more whole, more radiant, more free. It means loving them enough to allow them to grow without needing them to stay. You might feel that grief is loyalty, that mourning endlessly means you loved deeply. But true love doesn't demand someone stay small for your comfort. It doesn't require their energy to keep circling your world just so you can feel them. It means trusting that you are still connected, that you always will be. Some souls do return, not in haunting, but in harmony. They come as guides, as protectors, as messengers in moments when you're ready to hear. But they don't need to be called back. They return by choice, and their visits are light, clear, loving. That's the difference between a soul that's pulled back and a soul that chooses to return. One feels heavy, the other feels divine. So if you've been holding on too tightly, if you feel their presence like a shadow that won't leave, it may be time to loosen your grip. Not because they don't care, but because they love you enough to move forward, and you love them enough to let them. Breathe into that space, speak to them with peace in your voice. Tell them it's okay to go. Thank them. Release them. And then wait, because the next time you feel them, it won't be in sorrow. It will be in joy. It will be in lightness. It will be in that quiet moment when the wind brushes your cheek and something inside you whispers, "I'm here," just not in the way you remember. And in that moment, you'll know the truth. They never left you. They just stopped being pulled. You don't always need words to know someone's still near. Sometimes, it's the quietest things that speak the loudest. The sudden shiver on your spine with no breeze in the room. The flickering light that steadies when you speak their name. The scent of their cologne lingering for a heartbeat in a place it shouldn't be. You question yourself. You tell yourself it must be coincidence, but a deeper part of you already knows. It's not. Because death doesn't end connection. It changes its language. After the physical body fades, the soul's presence doesn't vanish, it simply shifts into vibration. And if you're paying attention, if your awareness is open, soft, receptive, you begin to notice, not with your eyes, not with your ears, but with something older, something wiser, a knowing that rises from your spirit and not your mind. One of the most common ways the soul reaches back is through dreams. These aren't ordinary dreams, not the kind where faces blur and stories make no sense. These dreams arrive with clarity. You remember what they said. You remember how you felt. You wake up with tears or peace, and it lingers. Not like a dream, but like a visitation. Because that's exactly what it is. In sleep, your conscious defenses soften. Your logical mind relaxes. You become more attuned to higher frequencies, and in that state they can reach you, not from the past, but from the present, from where they are now. And it's not always with messages. Sometimes it's just a presence, a hug, a smile, a look that says, "I'm okay, and you will be too." Those dreams aren't fragments of imagination. They're bridges, and if you trust them, they become healing. Other signs come when you're wide awake. When you think of them and the radio plays your shared song. When you ask for a sign and a feather lands by your feet. When you're driving and their name appears on a license plate in front of you. You pause. You wonder, was that really something? Yes, not every moment is a message, but some are. And your heart already knows the difference. You may also feel their energy physically. The light touch on your shoulder when no one's behind you. The warmth that fills the room, the sense of being watched, but not in fear, in comfort, as if something is holding space for you, as if you're not as alone as you thought. This is vibrational attunement. The more open your spirit, the more easily you tune into the soul's frequency. Just like a radio only picks up the station it's aligned to, your heart only feels their presence when you're not drowning in noise. Not emotional noise, not mental noise, but silence, openness, stillness. And the more you create that stillness, the more often you'll feel them. But here's where the line blurs. Between remembrance and clinging, between love and fixation. There's a difference between feeling a soul and needing to feel them. Healthy remembrance honors who they were. It celebrates what you shared. It opens your heart to connection, but doesn't demand it. It trusts that they're still journeying, and allows space for that evolution. Clinging, on the other hand, traps both of you in the past. It says, "Don't go too far, or I'll fall apart." It makes their presence a requirement for your stability. It turns the signs into proof that you haven't lost them, and if the signs stop, you spiral. That's not love. That's fear dressed as love, and the soul feels it. When you reach for them with peace, they come closer. When you reach with panic or desperation, the signal becomes harder to sustain. Not because they love you less, but because their energy is moving toward lightness, not density. And fear is heavy. So the key is trust. You must trust that they're still near even when you don't feel them, that their love didn't dissolve with their body, that connection doesn't require constant validation. Sometimes the signs are quiet because the soul has moved into a higher frequency. one that doesn't match your current emotional state, and sometimes they pull back, because they know you need to stand on your own, to walk through the pain and discover who you are without their physical presence anchoring you. This isn't abandonment, it's sacred space. But when your heart is calm, when you sit in the dark with a soft voice and an open spirit, they return. They come in laughter, in old photographs, in the way your child tilts their head just like they did. They come in the habits they left behind, in the scent of their clothes, in the dreams you didn't expect. They come when you're not looking, because you finally stopped grabbing and started feeling. Because you finally stopped grabbing and started feeling. You may find yourself talking to them, and that's okay. You don't need to speak out loud. The soul hears what's spoken in thought, in emotion, in vibration. They hear the whisper of your gratitude, the ache in your apology, the silent promise to carry on, but they also know when it's time for you to live again, and sometimes the greatest act of connection is letting go of the constant need for connection. Note: you can honor someone and still move forward. You can love them and still create joy in their absence. You can speak their name and not be trapped in sorrow. And when you do, when your remembrance becomes rooted in strength, not desperation, that's when their presence becomes clearer than ever. Because now you're aligned, now your vibration matches theirs, and the signs begin again, not in grief, but in grace. What are those signs? They are the flicker in your spirit when something feels too perfectly timed. They are the inner knowing that someone just helped you from the other side. They are the goosebumps when a song lyric answers a question you didn't speak. They are the warmth in your chest when you least expect it. And the truth is, they never left. They only changed form. They don't need to be summoned. They're already woven into your life, into your DNA, into the energy of your home, your memories, your story. But they will not stay where they are not welcomed in peace. So ask yourself, are you calling them through fear or through love? Are you holding their memory as a wound or as a blessing? Are you seeking signs to feel safe or to feel sacred?